Hi, everybody. Welcome to the second segment, episode 274 of Sold with Updike Pugh. I'm Jeff Updike.
I'm Weston Pugh, and we're going to talk about the real estate trends to watch in 2024. Now, I know 2024 is it half over yet?
Almost, yeah.
Anyway, we still want to bring this to you because we think some of these are really interesting. There's been several articles. I believe Wall Street Journal wrote one the other day that kind of caught our attention. There's been another one that was in Huffington Post, but I think it's kind of addressing why we're not seeing a lot of people bringing their houses on the market, because
I would agree.
trends, these are trends that people are putting in play in their homes so they can stay even longer.
A couple of the general insights that we had were people are focusing on sustainability, and they're using innovative materials to create long-term benefits with properties.
I would say that one of the biggest things that we see here is actually replacing sod with the artificial turf. And I think that we're seeing that used less in front yards, but definitely in backyards. And I think that we see people who are concerned about, cleanliness, yards that have a lot of shade. You also get to cut down on your water bill. So it is a large upfront cost, but in the end, I think that you can save money on lawn care and water, and it goes the distance.
I agree. And one of the kind of our second insight was you don't want to just follow the popular trends or the popular things to do that are going to go out of style.
I would agree with that, but if you're in a neighborhood that will allow you to do an auxiliary dwelling unit like a mother-in-law suite, or I think Adrian was looking at something that I was going to have it built and brought in. My neighbor did an artist studio, but it really has its own AC unit, it has water. These are things that I feel like add huge values.
I agree.
I think COVID changed everything, and whether it's going to be you're working from home or you just need this other space just to get away, I think it's really popular right now.
And I think people are making better long-term decisions, like with when they do have to replace their roof, to pay the extra amount of money to get a class 4 shingle put on, because it does become impact resistant. Then you get a benefit on your insurance rates. And I feel like insurance companies are getting out of the roofing business. I feel like they're forcing, at least Texas, forcing owners to assume the responsibility for their own roof.
Because we were talking with Tammy Farmer in our office, who's the insurance representative, and she was saying that, what was it, last Thursday, right before we met up with her, she said that one of the carriers had come out and said, all right, so everybody that renews their policy will have a mandatory 5% deductible. And that basically, I looked at her and said, so they're not covering roofs anymore? And she goes, bingo.
Yeah.
No more roofs.
Yeah. $500,000 house, it's $25,000.
Well, it'll be interesting. That's easy to hit in Dallas.
Yeah. And one of the things that we're seeing right now is many homeowners are just staying put.
It's the aging population.
It is. It's that middle class is just kind of frozen right now, because if they were somebody that bought their house 20 years ago or refinanced it 10 years ago and they've got a 3% mortgage on it, their equity is definitely increased, and they could transfer that to a new property. But if they're going to have to take a mortgage out on the new property, it's a big part of the financial calculation.
And the article that I'm talking about was when they were talking about how Gen X is already looking at staying in the house and making changes so that they can stay in it for a much longer. And I'm Gen X, and I could see the house that I'm in, don't tell Jason, but I could see this being a forever home, because it is a one-story and it's only 2,400 square feet.
So it's got everything you need.
I know.
Well, you kind of made it the way you wanted it to be. It's
a lot.
Yeah. So, but some of the things that they are adding are popular features are sustainable materials. The ADUs Weston was talking about, pickleball courts, which don't take up that much space. Our market doesn't really have a lot of basements, but many areas of the country that do, they're remodeling the basements and adding additional finished storage, home offices, and lots of outdoor spaces, which we really push.
If they have it, I'm a big encourager. One of the things we're seeing is home trim sizes. The sizing is not always bigger is better. I think that we're seeing a lot more people. I think that it has to be the Gen Z and maybe the downsizers that are pushing for this, because they have less, they don't need as much, and they're at that point in their life, where they're starting, they don't, or they're closing it out and they don't want all the trappings that they've accumulated.
Yeah, and so sustainability is something that's very important. I think we touched on it a moment ago, but the astroturf, like we were talking about for the yards, and we're having a lot of our clients that may have owned their home for 10 or 15 years that are reaching out and saying, "Hey, who can I get to come and blow some insulation in my house?" And who would you recommend to have windows replaced and things like that?
So one of the things that we've noticed also that we're seeing a lot more of the new home builders take into consideration are the amenities that they're offering.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is guaranteed that you're going to have almost a full sidewalk around the entire neighborhood if it's
Mm-hmm.
large so that you
Mm-hmm.
can take a walk. There will be at least one pool. There will be a large clubhouse. Now they have incorporated both pickleball and tennis
Mm-hmm.
ball courts.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot going on. And that's not even to talk about if there is a elementary school or a high school
Mm-hmm.
on property. So there's a lot happening when it comes to that.
Multifamily amenities. Now, when we talk about multifamily, we're talking about apartments, we're talking about condominiums,
Yeah.
we're talking about townhome communities, we're talking about all of that because smaller buildings adding amenities to compete with the larger ones. There was for a long time the complex that had 150 units. There was no way they could put the kind of amenity base in that the big 500 unit complex could. But the smaller complexes now are being kind of forced. They're picking which ones they're putting in, but they're using that space much more wisely.
West Village was one of the catalysts for that entire concept across the nation. And it
Interesting.
was one of the big pushes, and that just became like the standard now.
Bill was giving me a tour of his some new spaces in his building. He's a multifamily manager, and they are converting this one. It's kind of a small movie room into an influencer room. So they were going to have ring lights. They were going to have
Really?
yeah, and it could be a space that if somebody wanted to come down and
Like a small studio.
yeah, it's just a little small studio space.
That's interesting. We got a couple more we'll hit.
Yep.
One of them is a kitchen trend. You are seeing a lot more of these induction cooktops because gas is not always available if you're downsizing. Induction is a really excellent. Our Royal listing actually has induction as well. And then just the overall long-lasting investment. It is one of your top places to put money if you're doing a renovation.
Landscaping, looking at the outdoors, a lot of people are going more toward natural landscaping now, using a lot of native plants. I know we've started using a lot more native plants in my yard. I know y'all have too, but using the sages and using the grass and using the cactus, and it really goes back to that sustainability feature and just trying to conserve water and have something there for the year.
And I love the fact that certain municipalities have actually banned carpet grass. So St. Augustine is not even allowed because it's too water loving, and I think that's a smart way to turn that around. One of the last things we'll talk about is painting trends. I always think that it's funny because when we go into a neighborhood and we're looking to find out if we think that it's headed in the right direction, look for painted brick. That is one of the key indicators that you're having a resurgence of homeowners that are going to call this home. One of the things to be mindful of, if you paint it too dark, it's going to get pretty hot here in Texas. Also be mindful of the paint material. There are also washes that you can use on brick. Brick is porous. Be careful, you might seal it. Always check with a professional before you do any type of painting to the outside of that brick.
So we hope you found this helpful. If there's any other topics that you'd like for us to talk about, let us know. We'd be happy to do that.
And just remember, we want to be realtors for life.
When you're ready to talk real estate, you can reach us online, by phone, or by text at 214-377-2223.
And remember, we want to be realtors for life.